Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Geek Hall Father. Today, I've been meaning to do this a while, and there's going to be a little bit of a story, and then a little bit of a lesson, and then a little bit of a warning. It's kind of an educational video, more than anything else. But today, I wanted to talk to you about something I've lived with for the past 10 years, maybe more. Something very serious, and just to educate people on what it is and how serious it can be, and that if you feel that you've got any of the symptoms I'm about to describe, what you should do, how you should go about doing that, and what the treatment for the next little bit looks like. So first off, I'm talking about OSA, or in its proper name, Obstructive Sleep Apnea. So what that is the closing of your airways for a multitude of different reasons, which stop you from breathing properly during the night. And because you're not breathing properly, you don't get the proper sleep. In my case, it looked like I was sleeping a hell of a lot more than normal people, so I would always be asleep. And you ask anyone who knows me or has heard about me, the people that live with me, my fiance, my best friend, my family, everyone for the last 10 years has known me, knows I've had a problem. I know I've had a problem, so let's talk about it. This is not for sympathy, by the way, because I am my own worst enemy. I let it happen for 10 years and I didn't get it sorted out, and I had a lot of people very close to me telling me to sort it out and never doing anything about it, until the point when, and I'll be very frank, I would have either killed myself or someone else. And the worst thing about that, without being too deep, is if I was to have killed someone else and survived, I would then have to live with that on my conscience. And I'm, hopefully some people agree, a very humble person, very easy to get on with. However, I don't have the strength of character to deal with someone else's death that I've caused. So, obstructive sleep apnea is the closure of your windpipe when you're sleeping. Now, most commonly, it's associated with weight. I'm a heavy guy, heavy set, as well as fat. So in that case, what could happen is the weight of my chest or the back, however you like to sleep, can push down on your windpipe and restrict airflow. Now, restricted airflow and complete closed airflow, two different things. But that's how it depends on the severity of the condition you have. So you could either reduce your airflow, say that's your windpipe. If it's reduced, that's a reduction, obviously, and if it's closed, there is no gap at all for air. Now, sleep apnea, literally, it affects everyone. You've got it. You've most definitely got it. But don't worry. It's only if you kind of fit the things I'm about to describe that you should wake up and smell the cheese, or to put it a bit more bluntly, because this is what people were telling me for a long time, take my head out of my arse and go do something about it. It is as simple as going to your GP, suggesting some stuff, some symptoms, and going from there. Then you're getting passed on to either a private doctor, longer but life-saving, or to the NHS, who have saved my life, if I'm quite frank. One of the reasons I'm doing this video is I wanted to, since I've been successfully treated for the last year now, it's been a year. I will show you what it is that has treated me in a second. Without being too dark, I got told that the severity of my sleep apnea means that if I hadn't have got it sorted now, by 2019, 2020, 3-4 years, I would be dead. That was said in front of my fiance, which was shocking. And to be very frank with you guys, I was scared. I don't like going to the doctors. I don't like going to the dentist. I don't like knowing something's wrong. So I was scared and I didn't want to do anything about it. And the more and more people told me to do something about it, the more and more I resented the situation and resented those people for trying to help me. And that's all they were trying to do. Until, again, it got to the point where I was either going to kill myself or kill someone else. So, the other type of sleep apnea is when everyone goes to sleep, the muscles in their mouth, throat and neck, they relax naturally because you're going to sleep. Now, proper sleep is what's described as REM sleep or random eye movement sleep. And that's when you're dreaming. And if you ever look at someone who's sleeping deeply, their eyes are literally twitching around underneath their eyelids. And that's REM sleep. That is when your body is truly resting. It's actually resetting itself. It's rejuvenating. It's whatever you want to call it. It's doing what it's meant to be doing. Other types of sleep before REM are it's just regular sleep. So you've got weight issues, you've got regular relaxed muscles, and depending on how relaxed your muscles are, the severity is different. My sleep apnea has nothing to do with weight, which I'm not proud about because I still am overweight and I need to do something about that. But my sleep apnea is literally in my windpipe, just under my trachea. The muscles there are underdeveloped. They're not good enough to do their job. So when I fall asleep, my windpipe completely closes. And what happens then is my brain realizes that I'm not getting any oxygen, and tries to wake me up. So it wakes me up, and I wake up, and I do that a lot. And so when I've woken up, I've interrupted my sleep and I try to go back to sleep and it starts again. Now, for everyone out there, there's a scale of severity. So between 1 and 5 apneas a night is regular. You won't even notice them. Some of them won't even wake you up physically. 5 to 10 apneas is bad. Anywhere between 11 and 15 is severe. I was diagnosed with 70 apneas an hour. That's more than 1 a minute. So now you know what it is. Let me tell you about some of the symptoms. Symptom number 1, snoring. I used to snore like a beast. Literally, if you could imagine taking 2 really scary beasts, sticking them in a room together, and the noises that would come out of those 2 beasts, that's what I was doing. And I was doing that when I was living with my parents next door. They could hear me through walls. When I lived with my friend who's now in Canada, Joe, his parents could hear me through the ceiling when I stayed around his house. The first 3.5 years of my relationship with my beautiful fiance Finn, she was sleeping right next to that. And it's actually damaged a lot of relationships in my life. If I think back about the times when, because someone's experienced me snoring like that, we've not gone any further in a relationship. Now, fair enough, to me, I've found someone who put up with that, and I love her to bits, so thank you. And one was one of the people that was desperately trying to get me to fix this. So snoring, big thing. Constant tiredness, and now I'm not saying narcoleptic tiredness. You're not falling asleep on the spot, but constant tiredness. You've been to bed for 10 hours, you get up and you feel just as bad. You feel worse. There were times when I would go to sleep and I would wake up more tired than I was before because I didn't know what was going on. There were times when I would do that for 4 or 5 days, and then on my day off I would spend 12, 14, 18 hours in bed trying to catch up in little chunks of interrupted sleep made up for 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours of regular sleep. It got to the point where I would start to nod off while driving my car, sitting in traffic. That's what I mean about killing someone. I could quite easily kill someone. If I had someone in my car and I did that, they would die. Chances are, because karma's a bitch, I wouldn't. And that's what I was talking about earlier. About having the conscience to deal with knowing that because you've not sorted something out, someone has died as a result. It actually got to the point where I fell asleep in a meeting. The last company I worked for, we went up to Nottingham a few times a year, and one of these occasions I fell asleep at that meeting. That made me do something. Now, I said earlier, everyone used to have a go at me and tried to help me, and I, whatever it was, in whatever fashion it was, I turned it into them just pestering me. Just leave me alone. I don't want to sort it out. There's nothing wrong. I'm fine. You're just, that person, whoever it was, and there have been a lot of people. You're just killing me. You're just bugging me. That was it. I lived with my best friends for a year, and it got to the point in that scenario where I would get home from a 10-hour day at work and I would fall asleep on the sofa within a minute or two. I have fallen asleep during a conversation at a dinner table. When I was a kid, when I was in my teens, I used to fall asleep in the club, standing up, having a dance, having a rave, fall asleep, and you'd find me in the corner asleep. People used to take the piss, and I took the piss out of myself to a certain extent because I didn't know anything was wrong. On top of that, I used to sweat like a dolphin. Now, dolphins don't sweat, you don't notice because they're in water. Imagine that scene. I would basically be in water in the bed. I used to sleep with a fan on to keep me cool because I was so hot. Snoring, constant tiredness, lack of mental acuity. I'm not the smartest bloke in the world, but I like to think I'm quite sharp. So, conversation-wise, just doing normal things without getting stressed. I've got a lot of grey hair. That's actually one of the reasons I've got a lot of grey hair. It is one of the reasons I am overweight, and I'm not saying it's the complete reason, so please don't blame. If you have this, or if you find out you've got this, do not blame your weight on sleep apnea, because it is not just that, it is also your eating and exercise regimes. But for me, I would be so tired, I didn't want to exercise to lose weight, and it was a vicious cycle. So what did I do? I went to my GP and I told him, I researched sleep apnea first, a little bit of a hypochondriac thing to do, but I kind of figured out that I've got sleep apnea. Literally 100% of the symptoms I had all the time. So I went to my GP and I told them about that. The first thing they will do is suggest that because you're overweight, you've got diabetes. I do not have diabetes. I am overweight, technically speaking, and I say this with I'm not proud about it at all. Technically speaking, doctors suggest that I'm morbidly obese. I disagree with that. I'm fat. I'm a fat fuck. I'm not morbidly obese. I weigh a lot. I'm like a chunk of granite. If you imagine a chunk of granite and a chunk of brick, the same size, the granite will weigh more because it's more dense. That's the way it works. It's not that a ton of feathers, a ton of granite thing. Two equally cubic sized pieces of material. I'm very heavy, and as I say, I am heavy because of my eating habits and because of my lack of exercise. But since I've sorted it out, I now have the energy of Hercules. I could stay awake for 24 hours if I really wanted to. I survive now. I don't survive. I sleep. And if I had 4 hours sleep, I would be unfazed. It's kind of set me up for having kids, because when I do have babies, I don't mind getting up and only having 3-4 hours sleep. It doesn't bother me anymore. Before, I was sleeping for a long time. So bear with me, guys, because this is all for those people that think there might be something wrong. So go to your GP, talk about your symptoms, suggest sleep apnea, because they will naturally levitate if you're overweight, and most people with sleep apnea are. It's not my experience. That's what I'm gathering at, because you will be so tired you haven't got time or effort or patience to do anything like an exercise. I joined a gym once and I went 4 times because I was just tired, literally. What I will say is that people used to say, all you do is sleep, you can sleep anytime, all you do is sleep. There's a reason for that. I've actually got, the NHS describe OSA as a disease. It's not a disease because it isn't, I can't pass it to you. It is an infliction. It's very dangerous. Statistically, 6 people a year. I'll find out the statistics for you now, actually, while I'm talking. So, statistically, sleep apnea kills people every year. Sorry, bear with me. Well, I should have done this before. This is not how you make a video. Ooh, scary. So, apnea risk death, can sleep apnea skills, death rate triples to sleep apnea suffers. So let's have a look. One of the things I never done for 10 years was dream. I don't dream. If I dream, it's rare. And when I do dream, it's bloody weird. That's because I never physically entered REM sleep or dream state sleep. I was always awake. So very quickly, sleep apnea, a condition of repeated episode of breathing pauses during sleep, is measured by the number of complete or partial halts in breathing per hour of sleep. In a paper published in the August issue of Sleep, researchers found that the higher number of breathing pauses, the greater risk of death. So there is got to be like a proper figure. There isn't. I haven't got time to find that for you. Basically, it's deadly, yeah? So, go to your doctors, talk about sleep apnea. They will suggest Weight Watchers or weight management classes. They will suggest blood tests for diabetes. You need to be persistent. If you think you've got sleep apnea and you snore loudly, sweat heavily, are tired, irritable, and drained of energy at all points of the day, no matter how long you've slept, then you may have a more severe case of sleep apnea than other people. As I said, everyone's got it. I've just got it really bad. But everyone has a sleep apnea, an apnea at night. And as I say, you might not even realise you've had one. I used to, another symptom for me was, I never used to go to the toilet, urinate during the day, regardless of how much I drank. During the evening when I relaxed, I would want to go to the toilet. After a certain time, I don't drink anything. Water, juice, Coke, beer, whatever. During the night, I would get up in between my apneas, or because of my apneas, once an hour. So if I was having 1 apnea a minute, on the 60th apnea, I would get up and physically want to go to the toilet. And I would piss. And I would not drink another glass of water and go back to bed. But the next hour, I would get up and piss. And that stopped. I literally don't go to the toilet during the night now. That was what was a sign for diabetes, because I wanted to use the toilet all the time at night. But it stopped. So, this is the treatment. Now, there's a few treatments. You can have these little patches and all this stuff that goes in your mouth, up your mouth, down your mouth. That doesn't work. It works for people that snore because they snore. Snoring is associated with relaxed muscles in your mouth and weight. Apneas, sleep apnea, if it's severe enough, these little plastic things that go up your nose, and they won't do anything for you. You'll just whack them off during the night. They won't help you. You can have surgery to burn the back of your neck. Now, inside, obviously. What that will do is it will make the flap of skin solid that vibrates. That's what snoring is. the flap becomes soft, not tense, relaxed during the night, and it flaps around, and that's what causes snoring. Getting it lasered will stop it from being able to move, and air will be able to pass down it more regularly. That costs a minimum of £1,000. You can lose weight if you've got medium to minor to medium sleep apnea and you're overweight. Try losing weight. It will help because you're going to take weight off of your chest or off of your back, and it's going to help you. My lung capacity is the same as it always has been. I've smoked before, I don't now, so that's not a difference. In my case, it was suggested that I get one of these. This is what's called a CPAP machine, CPAP, or constant positive airway pressure. So, I actually can't plug it in for you because I've taken it out of the room. But it's a little box. It's got a little filter on the back of it. A little filter. See through that? There's a little bit of sponge. And then it's got this dirty grey hose. And it's 12 feet long, attached to a mask. And these two little things go up your nose. They don't go too far in, I'll show you that. And this head strap goes round your head. So, there you go. That's what this is. Now, a lot of CPAP machines have been depicted as these big old head trauma devices. And that when you sleep with them, you sound like Darth Vader, and that is the case. That separates. There's your hose. You just got to wash that every now and again. What this machine does is basically a little compressor. It draws air in from your room through the filter. The filter's obviously there to stop the dust. You just wear it like that on your head. The filter's there to stop your dust from getting up your nose, because that will just cause mucus and it'll be all terrible. You turn it on. This is preset. So when I got this, I had to take it home for a couple of nights. I had to wear it, and the machine kind of learnt my breathing habits and adjusted itself. Then I had to take it back into the hospital and they preset it to those adjustments. So what it does is it sucks in the air from outside and it pumps it through my nose under pressure. Under pressure. So this is a long video, but it's really important to me that I talk about this to help other people that might have it as well. Now, this can deliver 4 bar of pressure. So to make that make sense for you, 4 bar of pressure is, take your deodorant can, that constant pressure that's coming out the can, that's roughly about 4 bar. Mine auto adjusts to 6 bar, which is enough to blow over a bottle of Coke. Not a full one, maybe a half full bottle of Coke. If I aim this at a bottle of Coke, it'll blow it over, yeah? And so it constantly does that. So what this machine now does then is blow air through my nose down into my throat. It flattens my tongue, the flapper skin down, so I stop snoring, and it keeps my airwave open because it's always got air going through it. The minute I take it off, it'll collapse again. So it's always got air keeping it open. And that enables me to sleep because now I can breathe. It does mean I have to breathe through my nose. If I breathe through my mouth, I have trouble breathing because I've got air being rushed down my throat. If I then try to stop it by breathing in and out of my mouth, I'm creating a cross section of air. It turns into like a little tornado in my mouth, and it will make me short of breath. And I'll be like that. And it'll sound funny as well. Not that I talk. I used to talk in my sleep. There's another symptom. I'm really restless. This thing, I will tell you that you can pick up a CPAP machine. You cannot buy one down the shop. You need to be diagnosed to be allowed to have one of these. It's not using chemicals or oxygen. You just can't buy one because they're quite expensive. this machine was supplied to me by the NHS, so my tax pay, my money, my tax, my national insurance has paid off for me. If I was to buy this in the shop, this would cost me anywhere between £1,000 and £2,000. I actually, when I went back to the hospital for the 4th time, they said you don't have to come anymore because your treatment's working. I said, do I have to give this back? Shall I go out and buy my own one? I'm a bit worried because I don't really have £2,000, although I will have to find it because it's saving my life. I look like Nelly the elephant. They said no, providing that this continues to help you, and in my case, helping me is keeping me alive, then this is yours. Just look after it. Keep it clean. Wash it. Don't abuse it. Don't lose it, because we're not giving you another one. So, the conclusion is that I had 70 apneas an hour. That is well over 4 times the most severe case on the scale. The doctor said to me that it's going to take me a couple of weeks to get used to. It took me a night. The next day, I felt like I'd been doing like drugs. I was on it. I was like, wow. I read one guy describe having a CPAP machine and finally not having apneas as like being able to see things in colour again. So the world was dark. But as soon as he got a good night's sleep, the first good night's sleep he's had in a long time, and this goes for me as well, everything was more vivid, everything popped. I could hear better. That sounds really weird, but everything was right. Everything popped. Just so you know, and this is not to scare you, but my brain would wake my body up. What would happen is, this is just a little demonstration. I'd be breathing, I'd be snoring like an animal, and then all of a sudden I'd go, and I'd stop breathing for up to 20 seconds. Any more than that is brain death. That's why your brain turns you back on and says, wake up, something's wrong. My partner thought I was dead the first couple of times she slept next to me, because I would stop breathing. And then you wait, you kind of 20 seconds, up to 20 seconds later, you're back in the room. Let's just turn the light on. It's a bit yellow, sorry. At the same time as your brain constantly waking you up because your lungs aren't working. They're working, but they're not getting any oxygen, and you need oxygen to survive. You can survive without food. You can survive without water for X amount of time. You cannot survive without oxygen. Every part of your body needs oxygen. Your blood needs to transport oxygen around your body. Most importantly, to your brain. If your lungs don't perform properly, your brain doesn't get oxygen, you die. The suffocation, drowning, all that stuff is all because, it's not because of the water, it's because of the oxygen. The water's stopping the oxygen. So it's all about oxygen. At the same time that was happening, my heart was going into overdrive, and the guy showed me a chart of my breathing. And next to it was a chart of my heart going sick. And that was the reason I would probably be dead in the next couple of years, because every time I had an apnea or stopped breathing, my heart had a little heart attack to say, fucking something's wrong, get up, wake up. And that made every organ and every function in my body not work the way it should. But now, thanks to the NHS, thank you NHS, thanks to the CPAP machine, thank you genius that invented that, I now sleep every night between 4 and 6, 7 hours perfectly. There is one little drawback. I have to wear that thing every night of my life for the rest of my life. If I don't, I will automatically revert to having 70 sleep apneas an hour. Now, on a good point, the night after I use that machine, this thing records data as well. It can tell the doctors how many apneas I had. I went from 70 apneas an hour to 1. 1 apnea, which is absolutely normal. I could wake up because my bollocks is itching. That's an apnea. Yeah, I've woken up and I had 1 interrupted breathing moment an hour, and now I do that every night. It might go to 3 or 4, but it is nowhere near 70. I no longer sweat during the night. I no longer snore. I literally no longer fall asleep at any point in the day. I can stay, I said it before, I can stay out for 24 hours and I'll still be with it, yeah? I can breathe better, smell better, run faster, which isn't too fast in the first place because I am still a fat fuck. But everything about my life has improved. Everything. I'm actually happier. One of the things sleep apnea does to you is because your body's dealing with so much stuff, you'll start to have mental mood swings and you're taking things out on people that don't deserve it. The person that took most of that brunt for me was my fiance, and hopefully she can agree that I am still a bit of a dick, but I'm happier because I sleep and I'm no longer stressed and I'm no longer tired. And guys, I know this is a 31 minute long video, and if you have managed to get to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. If you do think you've got sleep apnea in some sort of fashion above the average, which everyone has, I'll say it again, research, Google it. There is a lot of stuff out there. The NHS actively tries to support people with sleep apnea. The Queen Elizabeth II Hospital in Woolwich has a respiratory unit, which is for, well, other respiratory problems, but sleep apnea is one of them. More and more people are being diagnosed and successfully treated. Yes, I have to wear a funny machine for the rest of my life to bed. If there's a power cut, that machine doesn't work. Now I've experienced good REM sleep, so now I dream. Now I've experienced good REM sleep for a year. The 1 or 2 occasions a year that I cannot use this machine, it becomes tenfold as bad not using it. So it's like, it will literally be like the first time you've never slept in a week. But persistence, don't be a hypochondriac. Those of you that are hypochondriacs, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend you. However, get to your doctors, research it, be sensible about your conclusions. Don't go around thinking that you've got 100 apneas a second and that you are literally on death's door. It is a killer. It can kill. It will kill. If you believe you've got it, get it sorted. Once you get it sorted, even though it was embarrassing and scary for me and I didn't want to confront it. Once I did, I can honestly say that it's the best thing I have ever done. And I can only apologise to my friends and family and loved ones that consistently pushed me to do something and I ignored them and I disrespected them in certain cases in not pursuing a way to sort this out. Thankfully I'm not diabetic. At the same time, I do kind of sometimes feel like saying I told you so. I wasn't sleeping all the time. I had a condition. My best friend's mum, who lives in Canada, she's been diagnosed with sleep apnea. Get it sorted. That's all I've got to say. I know it's a long video. Thank you so much for watching. Please research it. And the other thing I need you guys to do is, if you want to talk about sleep apnea, I've had 10 years with it, 1 year without it. I'm going to say I'm a bit of an expert. I wanted to write a paper on it. I've done a YouTube video instead because it's a bit more accessible to the world. It's more accessible for me. I'm not, I can write. I've got quite strong English skills, I believe. But I think a video's a lot more, it's a bit more personal. It'll get to more people. I don't expect it to get thousands and thousands of views. But what I do expect is that anyone who does watch it and anyone who does want to talk, wants advice, wants scenarios, situations, just wants to chat, please do so. I am readily available to help anyone I can in any way I can. I'm not going to give medical advice to the point, but I will give you suggestions on how you can seek the correct medical advice. Thank you so much for watching. I've been the Geek All Father. Deuces.